Welcome to this deep dive. Our mission today, well, we're not getting bogged down in calculus or stock tickers.
No, definitely not.
We're diving straight into the psychology of money. And it's built on this really radical idea
Which is,
that financial success, the kind that actually lasts, the kind that gives you real freedom, it has surprisingly little to do with how smart you are.
right. It's almost entirely about how you behave.
That distinction feels, well, fundamental.
It really is everything. I mean, if you come at this thinking money is just logic and spreadsheets, you're already kind of set up to fail.
So this isn't just financial advice, then?
No, not at all. It's more like a diagnosis of human nature, you know?
Yeah.
You can memorize every investing book out there.
Uh-huh.
But if you don't get the psychological traps, the emotions driving your choices, you'll just keep, well, working against yourself. It's almost inevitable.
Okay, let's make this concrete. To show why behavior really trumps brilliance, we've got two amazing and totally opposite real stories.
Yeah, these are powerful.
Let's start with Ronald Reed. This guy was a janitor, a gas station attendant, rural Vermont.
No fancy background.
No formal finance training. First in his family to finish high school, actually. But he quietly built up an $8 million fortune. Patiently.
This steady saving and investing.
And he ended up becoming a major philanthropist later on.
Incredible. Okay, now contrast that with Richard Fuscone.
Right. Fuscone is the guy you'd expect to succeed. Harvard education, top exec at Merrill Lynch, big salary, lots of awards.
The classic profile.
He retired in his 40s, thought he'd made it. Planned to be a philanthropist too, actually.
But the outcome.
Staggering is the word. Fuscone went completely broke, lost his mansions, foreclosure.
And this happened when?
Get this. 5 months before Ronald Reed, the janitor, died and left his $8 million to his local library and hospital.
Wow. That's just the perfect illustration, isn't it?
It really is.
You have the person with the best education, the smartest guy in the room, access to all the tools, and he fails spectacularly.
While the janitor succeeds massively.
Why? Because finance, real financial success, it's a soft skill. What you do, your behavior, is so much more important than your IQ score.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's talk about the first big behavioral trap. Thinking you're purely logical.
Oh, yes, the illusion of rationality.
If it's all behavior, how can two people, equally smart, look at the exact same investment, the same data, and one sees a huge buying opportunity while the other just dumps everything, runs for the hills?
Yeah, it seems baffling, right? We see that happen, and we tend to think the other person must be irrational,
Yeah.
or maybe just crazy.
Right.
But the insight here is that no one is crazy. Everyone, absolutely everyone, operates from inside their own unique experience bubble.
Experience bubble. Explain that.
Okay, so your own personal experiences with money, with markets, with risk, that's a tiny, tiny fraction of everything that's ever happened in the world financially. Like maybe 0.000000001%.
A minuscule slice.
Right. But that tiny slice, it accounts for something like 80% of how you believe the world works, how you'll react when things get stressful.
Whoa. Okay, so our past doesn't just inform us, it kind of dictates our emotional reactions.
Precisely. Think about someone, maybe a stockbroker, who got wiped out in the Great Depression.
Okay.
That person carries an emotional scar. Reading about it in a history book just isn't the same. They see a market dip, they feel existential dread.
Makes sense.
Now, contrast that with, say, a tech worker who made a fortune overnight in the dot-com boom of the late 90s.
Right. Completely different experience.
Yeah. They might see volatility and think, oh, that's just the price you pay for potentially huge gains. Their definition of risk is totally different.
Based purely on what they lived through.
Exactly. Or, someone who graduated right into the 2008 financial crisis. You could study that crash all you want. But if you didn't live through the fear of maybe losing your house or seeing your parents lose their jobs, you just don't have the same emotional programming.
So for that person, selling everything at the first sign of trouble might feel completely rational, like self-preservation.
It feels like the only sane thing to do based on their lived reality.
This really changes how we should think about other people's financial choices, doesn't it?
It absolutely should.
We judge them based on our bubble, assuming if they do something different, they must be less smart or less skilled.
We mistake a difference in experience for a difference in intelligence. We think our bubble is the only reality.
Which leads nicely into the next trap, right? This idea of control.
Yes. Trap 2, the illusion of control. This deep-seated belief that success is all down to your own hard work, and failure is, well, your own damn fault.
We love those neat narratives. Effort equals results.
We do. But the truth is much messier. The source material hammers this home. Nothing is as good or as bad as it seems. Meaning every outcome, especially financial ones, is this complex mix of your effort, sure, but also luck and risk, things totally outside your control.
And we tend to downplay the luck and risk parts, especially when we're trying to reverse engineer success.
Oh, absolutely. The Bill Gates story is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Yes, the man is brilliant, driven, no question. But we have to acknowledge the incredible luck involved. Like, the fact that he went to Lakeside High School in the late 60s, early 70s.
Why was that lucky?
Because Lakeside was one of the only high schools in the world that had a computer back in 1968.
Seriously, 1 in a million luck.
Literally. It gave him years of practice just messing around with this technology before almost anyone else even knew what it was. A massive head start.
Okay, so that's the luck side. What about the risk?
Compare Gates' story to his close friend at the time, Kent Evans.
Okay.
The sources say Evans was just as bright, just as into computers. He was Gates' key partner in those very early days. Same ambition, same smarts.
And what happened?
Kent died in a mountaineering accident before he even finished high school.
Wow. Another 1 in a million event.
But this time, it's pure uncontrollable risk. Total tragedy. You've got two equally brilliant kids, same starting point, same passion.
And their lives go in wildly different directions because of factors totally beyond their control. Luck and risk.
Right. And the lesson here is so important. The more extreme the success story, the more likely it involved a huge dose of luck or circumstances you just can't replicate.
So stop trying to find the 5 secrets of billionaires, because maybe one secret was just being in the right place at the absolute right time.
Exactly. Or avoiding a random catastrophic risk. Instead of idolizing individuals and copying their exact playbook,
What should we do?
study the patterns. Look for the repeatable behaviors that build resilient wealth. Things like humility, patience, thinking long-term.
Because those are the things that can actually help you survive the bad luck when it shows up.
Precisely. Those are the durable strategies.
Okay, that brings us to another set of traps: chasing status, always needing more. Why do people who clearly have enough money risk it all for that next million or the bigger boat?
Yeah, that's a big one. It all boils down to confusing two very different things: being rich and being wealthy. This is Trap 7.
Yeah.
Thinking looking rich means you are rich.
Okay, let's slow down on that. Rich versus wealthy. We use those words like they're the same thing.
But they're not. Not really. Being rich is mostly about high current income and, crucially, high spending. It's visible.
Like the fancy car, the huge house, the expensive watches.
Right. The stuff you see. Wealth, on the other hand, is hidden. It's the income you didn't spend. It's the stocks, the bonds, the assets that haven't been turned into flashy stuff yet.
So the person driving the brand new leased luxury car might be rich.
But the person driving a 10-year-old car who has a huge investment portfolio quietly growing, that's the wealthy one. It's almost the inverse of what society tells us.
It really is. Spending money to show people how much money you have.
Is literally the fastest way to have less money. It's ironic, isn't it?
Completely.
True wealth is silent. And its biggest benefit isn't buying more stuff. It's gaining control over your time. It's freedom, peace of mind.
And this ties into that pursuit of admiration, right? The idea that buying things makes people respect you. Tell us about the man in the car paradox.
Right. The paradox is simple but revealing. When you see someone driving, say, a really expensive Ferrari, what's your first thought? Is it genuinely, wow, look how successful and admirable that driver is?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
More likely, your thought is something like, damn, I wish I had that car. You're not admiring the driver. You're imagining yourself driving the car.
Ouch. That's a bit of a harsh truth.
It is, but it shows that if your goal is to get respect and admiration from others, spending money on flashy things is a really ineffective way to do it.
What works better?
Honestly. Things like humility, kindness, empathy, those generate far more genuine respect than any luxury good ever could.
Which brings us to maybe the most powerful idea: knowing when you have enough.
Yes, this concept cuts through so much noise.
It reminds me of that great story about the writers Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller.
Oh yeah, the billionaire's party.
Exactly. Vonnegut points out that their billionaire host probably made more money in a single day than Heller earned from his classic novel Catch-22 over its entire lifetime.
And Heller's response is just perfect. He says, yes, but I have something he will never have.
What's that?
Enough.
Wow. Just enough. That
Yeah.
stops the comparison game cold, doesn't it?
Completely. It redefines wealth. The highest form isn't the biggest number. It's waking up and knowing, genuinely, I can do whatever I want with my day today.
Okay, so if that's the goal, that freedom's out, how do you keep it once you have it? The focus shifts, right?
Absolutely. It shifts from offense, making money, to defense, keeping money. And the skills needed are different. Caution, humility, resilience. This links to Trap 13, underestimating how powerful time is.
Let's pause on that time factor. The scale is just mind-blowing sometimes. Like with Warren Buffett, his fortune today is what, around $160 billion?
Roughly, yeah. But get this statistic. Something like $156 billion of that fortune was accumulated after his 65th birthday.
Wait, say that again? $156 billion after he could have retired.
That's right. Almost the entire fortune came after traditional retirement age.
That just changes everything about how you think about patience and compounding, doesn't it?
It really does.
It proves that just staying in the game, longevity, is arguably more powerful than genius timing or picking the absolute best stocks.
That's the magic of compounding unleashed over decades. But to stay in the game that long, you have to survive the ups and downs emotionally. Which brings us to Trap 10.
Which is?
Thinking that successful investing should feel easy. It looks easy when you're just looking at a chart going up.
But living through it is different. The volatility, the fear, the doubt that makes you want to sell everything, that's not a sign you're doing something wrong.
Exactly. That's not a bug, it's a feature. That volatility, that fear, that gut-wrenching doubt, that's the price of admission for getting market returns over time.
It's a fee, not a fine.
That mindset shift is absolutely critical. You have to internalize that.
Because if you see a market drop as a fine, you think, oh no, I messed up, the system's broken, and you panic sell, probably at the worst time.
Right. But if you see it as the fee, the known cost of entry, you think, okay, this feels uncomfortable, but this is the price I pay for long-term growth. You hang up.
Can you give an example?
Sure, think about Netflix stock.
Yeah.
Between 2002 and 2018, its return was over 35,000%. Just incredible.
Astronomical.
But during that same period, do you know how often the stock was trading below its previous all-time high?
I dread to think.
94% of the time.
94%. So almost the entire journey felt like you were underwater from a previous peak?
Pretty much. You had to constantly endure that feeling of, is this ever going back up? That discomfort, that doubt, that was the fee you paid to get the 35,000% return. You pay the fee to win.
So how do you build the resilience to pay that fee? To ensure you stay in the game long enough?
That's where redundancy comes in. The barbell approach, which released the Trap 11, you need to be sort of bipolar in your outlook.
How so?
Be incredibly optimistic about the very long term. I mean, look at history. Standards of living have skyrocketed over centuries. Despite constant chaos, wars, pandemics, depressions, progress is real.
Okay, long-term optimism. But the other side of the barbell.
Short-term paranoia. You have to be cautious enough, conservative enough to survive the inevitable bumps in the road. You need a margin of safety.
Room for error.
Exactly. Cash reserves, diversification, not being over-leveraged. And crucially, this margin isn't just for the risks you can predict.
It's for the ones you can't even imagine.
Precisely. Like, there's this historical anecdote about German tanks in World War II being sidelined because mice chewed through the wiring insulation.
You can't forecast mice.
You can't. That's the point. You can't predict those specific black swan events. But you can build a buffer, a safety margin, that lets you survive unforeseen shocks.
And if you have that buffer, you don't need to waste energy trying to predict the unpredictable.
Exactly. That margin of safety makes short-term forecasting pretty much unnecessary. It's your defense against reality's inevitable curveballs.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together. We've covered a lot of ground. The big takeaway seems to be that financial success is really a behavioral skill, not an intelligence test.
That's the core message.
And we need to watch out for these traps. Thinking our own limited experience is universal truth.
The experience bubble.
Ignoring the massive roles of luck and risk.
Nothing's as good or bad as it seems.
Chasing the look of being rich instead of the freedom of being wealthy.
Rich versus wealthy, huge difference.
And maybe most importantly, Not having the emotional stamina, the resilience to just stay in the game long enough for time to work its magic.
Right. Survival is key. And if you tie all that back to the single highest return thing you can do with your money,
What is it?
use it to buy control over your time. That freedom, that autonomy, that's the ultimate dividend money can provide.
And in aiming for that freedom, the goal isn't cold, hard rationality.
No, this is crucial. Traps 4 and 12 touch on this. Don't aim to be perfectly rational like a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Aim to be reasonable.
Reasonable over rational. What's the difference in practice?
A perfectly rational plan might, on paper, yield the absolute highest return. But it might also require you to have nerves of steel, never feel fear, never deviate.
Which is impossible for humans.
Exactly. That rational plan is actually worthless because
Yeah.
it will break the moment you, a real human being, encounter stress or uncertainty.
So a reasonable plan.
A reasonable plan is one you can actually stick with. It might not be mathematically optimal in every scenario, but it's sustainable. It lets you sleep well at night. It accounts for your human emotions.
Because you can actually follow through on it long enough for compounding to do its work.
That's it. A plan that survives contact with reality is infinitely better than a perfect plan that shatters under pressure.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening as they think about their next financial move comes down to one question from the source material.
A really powerful one.
What are you risking that you have and need for something that you don't have and don't need?